Alex isn't in, so I get to lead it off with welcome to Brown Bag Bets, your daily man. He's so much better at that.
Daily dose of quick hit handicapping.
Quick hit handicapping.
And that's it.
Sports
That's where
betting
I was.
picks.
Sure.
Sports betting. Yeah, I think we about nailed it yet. Alex,
one of these days, you and I host this, we're gonna get it right.
We should write it down, honestly. Alex was hoping to be here today, but the train ride / line into the U.S. Open, where he has tickets today down up in New York, over in New York from Philly. I don't know what direction it is from Philly. I think due east. That sounds about right. My geography kind of sucks.
I feel like if you say over, it just works in general.
Yeah, over New York way. So he is going to be taking in some tennis. He dropped his picks, so we'll have plenty to talk about tennis-wise today for sure. And yes, it is Matt Rooney stepping in. He is super sub, bringing him in out of the bullpen, stepping in. I'm trying to think of a good coming out of the bullpen guy. All I can think of is John Rocker sprinting. Nobody wants to be John Rocker. You don't want to be John Rocker. That guy was a lunatic. We'll go with Mariano.
I think I'm on less steroids than John Rocker.
And Patrick in the chat says, in New York, we say down to Philly. Although I was told when I was in Maine, heading north along the coast is called down east, which makes no sense. Geography aside, fun weekend. The playoffs are almost over for golf. Imagine shooting 27 under for a tournament and not winning. That is something that happened. It was kind of a wild playoff, and I don't know. I didn't have a horse. I knew plenty of people who had horses, but I was kind of just cheering for chaos at that point.
Pam had a horse.
Pam had a horse.
Outright on approaching the green.
I was kind of paying attention half in and half out, and I'd forgotten Pam did have a horse.
Yeah.
And I should have been cheering. Now I feel like a bad teammate there. So
Pam got that done. Can't like because Bryson, because he was going up against Bryson, and it's always fun to see Bryson collapse.
It is actually fun to watch Bryson have a little bit of a meltdown. But yeah, Tour Championship over. We head to the final leg. Good morning from Las Vegas, says Leg Show Magazine. Good morning, mister. And we head to East Lake, where producer Dan has some fondness. He's from that area. We have a nice course. I tried to make a comp to this a couple years ago, or a couple tournaments ago, I believe. I said it's a really good comp for this tournament, but every year only 30 men play, and it's hard. You don't have enough data. It's a goofy tournament. You have the weird starting position things, so things get wild with that. College football is fun. If you caught the show on Friday, Matoy actually gave out a pick, even though he's our other side of the counter guy. He's still a gambler, and he was all about UCLA. So between that and some people putting me on UTEP, I'm undefeated in college football. More college football content. We'll have some guests this week. Did you bet any college, Mr. Matt?
I'm bummed. I should have been 3-0. I had Fresno State laying 14.5 in the first half, which was I think it was like 31-0 at halftime. It was easy. I wanted to go Illinois and the under, parlay those, but that's what I wanted to take. Everyone seemed to be on Illinois. Seemed like that was kind of a lock, but it got to the point where I almost outthought myself, and I was like, well, everybody's too high on Illinois. Maybe I need to go a little bit against that because it seems like it's too easy. And then I was with a couple people on the golf course that said, let's go with Nebraska. And I was like, all right, cool. I'm golfing with you guys. I'll just take Nebraska too. So I went 2-1, should have been 3-0, but I'll take 2-1. I'll take 2-1 on week 0. That's a bonus week. That's let's learn everything. Let's get our feet wet. I'll take 2-1.
Yeah. Not betting that one. It was still kind of delightful to watch Nebraska fall. I'm kind of in a weird,
hilarious.
I'm in an area too, and I grew up in Western Minnesota, so I knew plenty of Husker fans growing up. And boy, they're very, every time anything happens, any recruit, any new coach, they're very sure it's going to be 1993 all over again. It will never be. It's such a weird landscape in the in college football now. It's so hard to get back to the glory years. So I enjoy watching.
This was supposed to be it for them too. This was supposed to be it. Like if it's not Scott Frost, like who's it going to be?
Yeah, Scott Frost is a mess. Martinez probably isn't that good. It was fun. They offered WynnBET offered first touchdown scorer on that. I'm gonna have to check what the odds were for whatever Nebraska running back it was that put that first one in. But yeah, that was and Patrick says the best hope is to get on an Iowa level. So UAB Jacksonville State on a neutral site. I actually talked to my guys at WynnBET. I'm like, are you gonna line that stuff? because it's got FCS schools, and there's like maybe. So we'll check into that. I think we'll have a college football guest on Wednesday. We'll touch on that one for sure. I have not looked at that at all, but yeah, neutral site, kind of a kickoff game Wednesday, full slate Thursday, a lot of college football, more college stuff this week. And yeah, let's get to Tour Championship stuff because I feel like I owe an explanation. And that sounds very like I did something wrong.
Yeah, what'd you do,
No,
Andy?
it's like Matt off the air too. He's like, just to make sure I'm on the right page, like what's happening this week. If you go to your sports book, if you go to WynnBET, if you go to any book you use, you are almost certainly going to find two different markets for golf this week. You are going to find a market for who wins the Tour Championship, which is who wins $15 million. It's a shitload of money, and there's so much money to be had in this one. But there's who wins, and that is going to be the man on top of the leaderboard at the end of the week. But there's also going to be a second market at 90% of the books I looked at had this. It's lowest score. So, and why they have that is because based on the rankings, they're giving these guys head starts because it is the championship. They're trying to reward people who did well during the season, who did well during the other playoffs. So you can see, if you're looking at this on the stream, you can see on the screen, Cantlay, winner of last week, bumped into first. We'll start at 10 under. Tony Finau at 8 under, Bryson at 7, Rahm 6, Cameron Smith at 5. And then as you go further down the list, you'll see other people at lower, all the way down to even if you get down to the bottom people in the field this week. So everybody who finished above like the last few spots gets a little bit of a boost. And if you go back to last year, Dustin Johnson won this event by 3 strokes, but he was the guy who got the 10 strokes. He did not win both pools. He won the who wins the Tour Championship, but the winner of the actual who shot the lowest score was actually Xander Schauffele. In fact, him and Scotty Scheffler shot better scores than Dustin. So if you look at that market, it's a completely different market. You can find some value in some guys who are chasing, who could presumably shoot, 10, 12, 13 under and still not win the event. So you can see on the screen here, Answer Burns, English, Spieth, Thomas at -4. I'm not going to read them all, but all the way down to the Berger, Garcia group, and Patrick Reed, if he does end up playing, down at even. Did that make sense, Matt? Did any of that make sense?
No, totally makes sense. I knew there was some sort of head start, format once you got to the Tour Championship. I just kind of forgot where it was. I think I remembered the leader was always at the first in the FedEx Cup standings was always the 10 under. I just kind of forgot where everybody else fell in the line. But that makes a whole lot of sense. And I think the lowest score prop bet, whatever outright, is something I think I'm going to be a little bit more interested in.
Yeah, and if you look at some of the odds, you'll see just the couple of the top golfers are really low fit. You're not going to get a big number on these guys, not only because there is a head start, because it's such a small market or a small field. There's only 30. There's such a low likelihood of a chance of somebody coming from way, way, way behind. Looks like I'm looking at the chat as it's being typed. It looks like Dan has a take on the Jacksonville State game. So getting into. Yeah, I have no idea. I know Jacksonville State strictly from college basketball. So getting into the slate, I did make a couple plays this morning. Again, I didn't actually bet these yet. I looked at some early numbers. I haven't shopped these around yet. These are what I would play. If I can find better numbers, I will obviously play better numbers. But Xander and Scotty, not only because they did play well here last year and did this because of the decent form now at 12 and 22 to 1. And then a couple guys way down. I believe these guys are 6-7 shots off the lead to start already. Connors and English to have the best score just because, again, they could shoot, 10, 12, 13 under and not even really maybe crack the top 5. So a couple of longer shots on some guys that have had some decent form down the stretch. Some guys that can definitely score hunt, especially at a course like this, and get there, but not even come close to winning. So, and any of these, if I'm betting, let's especially Connors and English. If I'm say I put $100 on Connors at 33 to 1 to have lowest score, I'm probably going to put like $20 on him to win too, just in case. Because it'll feel bad if he shoots like 15 under and actually catches up to to Mr. Cantlay. Maybe not even that much. I'm guessing those are pretty long shots the further down you go. But I'll probably tickle the actual outright market. But really, the without starting strokes market, again, this is what I'm talking right now is just lowest score. Nothing to do with the standings. It's the lowest score over the 4 days. So, and that's pretty much it. We'll get into some more stuff later this week. I'm sure you're going to have the same thing with head-to-heads. They're going to be confusing. You're going to really, really, really have to read this week. Reading comprehension, big stuff this week. Know what you're betting into because there's going to be markets that are going to be handicap or not. And that's all I've
never been a big fan of reading, Andy.
Honestly, it's a pain in the ass. It's such a pain in the ass week. The Olympics was a better market than this. Alex,
US Open. Alex sent his picks.
@_noops on Twitter, at Alex Christenson on BETSPERTS. Follow along with him there. He has picks. He'll have stuff. I'll yell at him if he doesn't post some pictures on his Twitter. I'll be mad because I just pimped it. Go follow him on Twitter. I'm sure he'll have some cool pictures from the stands there at the US Open today. But he did send me some picks. And I'm like, can you send me some crib notes just so I don't have to read these off? Like I feel like I have some.
I think you and I both.
Well, like I've talked about some of these. I'm like, but what is some of these? What are some of these bets that you're making and why? Just because so I can absolutely not sound like an asshole and read them off. But I mean, Sloane Stephens, I don't need much of a head start on that one. That's one of those weird markets where, for some reason, Madison Keys is being priced like she's a lot better than Sloane right now. I know people that would make Sloane a favorite here. There were places you can get up to plus 130 on Stephens at some point. So that's a good look from there. The Cornet total is, he says it should be over 21. Cornet's off a good week, and Jabeur, who is the favorite, is a bit of a slow starter. So getting that at 20 games. And then, this one just kind of goes without saying, it's Coco Gauff. You can get a 19.5. He says that should probably be 20.5, maybe 21.5. Lynette is an underrated server and has been pretty solid on hard courts this year. I shouldn't have said that I had crib notes. I should have just sounded smart.
Yeah.
Mark
messed that one up.
And there's a little mix up just because the way he copy and pasted all this stuff. Some of these names got posted twice, but that play is just Martin Sova plus 5.5 games. That's just underpriced versus Vika. And a lot of it comes to the retirement from the last match out, and it was not an injury. She was just, I know, Cornet. I read it like a cornetto or the tiny trumpet. I played brass in the band, so it's a cornet to me. Cornet Jabeur. Martin Sova, I was giving that C a hard C too, which I apologize to her, but plus 5.5 games. Again, underpriced versus Vika because of a retirement, which was not an injury, just some fatigue. The next line should just read Navarro, plus 4.5 games. That's another one. She's facing McHale, and really it's just McHale is kind of a U.S. player on a downward trajectory, says Alex. And then the last one is Kanya with a soft J, minus 2.5 games. Don't have a hard take on that. That's where his crib note stopped. I think maybe he forgot he made that play, but Kanya minus 2.5. It's a play. Ask Alex why. Bother him on Twitter.
Sounds like that Stevens money line is a value play there. So maybe that's the one I'll hop on. Sounds like he knows something that we don't.
Everybody I know that bets women's tennis seems to have taken that one, except one person on Twitter who often is wrong. So maybe a good sign that's a hot play. That might be a hot play to hop on. And then real quick, I don't have a PrizePicks entry this week, but PrizePicks has tennis. You can actually bet. This is fun. So you can do some entries on just total games on some of the matches, but you can do tournament long ones for the US Open. And I kind of gravitated away from some of the season long NFL stuff, because I hate waiting that long on something like this. It should be more instant gratification. But this isn't bad. It's only a fortnight. And you can see Djokovic is 6.5 matches. Will over or under, which you have to win 7 to win the title. So it's basically Djokovic to win the title or to lose before that. And all of these, some of these you can get pushes on. Ashley Barty over under 4 matches won. Eventually, essentially, it's how far will they advance in this tournament, and that's something I'm probably going to dig into a little bit once we get off the air here, because this looks like a pretty fun market. And again, promo code BBB when you sign up, you get 100% instant deposit match up to $100. Later this week, we'll have some giveaways on that. Hot takes from you on tennis, PrizePicks, Matt?
No, but I was gonna say we were talking college football earlier, and PrizePicks has college football too. That's what I used. I signed up, used a little bit of my my instant deposit match there for some college football futures plays, some touchdown totals for the season long. So that's I'm once we, especially these first couple weeks, I'm all in on college football betting. So I think that's where my money is going to be going on PrizePicks.
I think there's probably some decent money to be made there too if you pay enough attention. Like everybody can have it. I feel like the market is pretty sharp on, like, let's say Devontae Adams total yardage this week.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can find like a running back on UTSA or something, I feel like you could probably hunt down some information and have a better shot at getting some wins. I think college football is probably a good one to attack.
Yeah, like you're saying, if you're a fan of like a mid-tier team, you're going to be able to find some value because they're probably not paying as much attention to that as, Chris Olave's touchdown total with Ohio State or something along those lines.
Yeah. Someone said, yeah, we should just port everything in Nebraska under 6 wins and retired. Yeah, they have some tough games yet.
The value might be gone on that now.
Yeah, I wonder if anyone will be offering updated win total markets. Close with a fun market though. We've been doing these all season long, and we are running out of time on these because we're getting to the NFL season very, very soon. We have Thursday, so we're talking like 10 days until the opener. I'll be out in Vegas. We have some fun events for anyone who is out in Vegas this year. But yeah, WynnBET all season long. We've been looking at some markets. This is something we talked about in the deep dive a little. I think we've just brought it up randomly with Alex and I. I'd love to hear your take on this too. So this is from this morning, the most updated prices on Coach of the Year. And down in San Diego, we have a favorite. That is not where that team is. Out in LA, formerly of San Diego, we have a favorite in Mr. Staley, Flores from Miami, Rivera, Shanahan, McVay, and Stefanski leading the list. Have you made any bets on this? Are you just blind betting Nagy as a joke or what?
Oh God, I can't bet Matt Nagy. No. But when you texted me this morning, you asked me to fill in and said this was the Wynn NFL market we were going. The first name that popped in my head was Brandon Staley because I think that one makes a whole lot of sense. That said, looking at the odds, there's just not plus 1,300 is fine value, but there's not a whole lot of it there. Looking through those names though, I'm kind of gravitating towards the AFC East there with either Bill Belichick if that team wins 10 or 11 games and Mac Jones looks good and they're in the playoffs. I think he's a name that's probably going to get some attention for that award. And same thing with Sean McDermott. I mean, if the Bills live up to the hype and they end up getting the 1 seed in the AFC, which is very possible because if you listen to the deep dive, you and Drew, while you're high on the Chiefs, think that could be in an 11 or 12 win team as opposed to a 13 type win team. If the Bills can go ahead and take the AFC, I think Sean McDermott's a great option to take a look at there. Other than that, no, not a whole lot of names. I mean, Kevin Stefanski, I guess by that logic, the same thing with Sean McDermott. If the Browns go out and get a 1 seed, that's possible. But 1,700 for Sean McDermott and 1,750 for Bill Belichick. Sean Payton at 1,752 is a nice one if Jameis comes out and looks good and they win 10 or 11 games.
Yeah, it's such a weird award with so much hinging on expectations. Like if you take it, and again, someone just mentioned Stefanski won it last year. Like Stefanski and McDermott both could have won it last year, and I feel like whoever didn't win it last year still has a chance this year. It's hard to go back to back, but like the teams with some lower expectations that could reach up and do something. Like I have my Arthur Smith tickets. Sean Payton, I think people expect him to take maybe a step backwards this year. I don't know if he's ever won it either. Like that might be like hey, we should give it to this guy.
Give him one.
He's done it so well for a decade. Like especially if they win the division over Tampa, that's a decent look there. But like, yeah, it's hard to go with some of the teams that have higher expectations too. So yeah, I have my Artie Smith 25-1, and really outside of that, like I don't love McVay because I'm not in love with LA. some of the 2006. Apparently, Sean Payton won. Well, it's been long enough where he's
Been a
overdue
while.
for another
He's
one.
overdue.
Yeah, Shanahan actually is a sneaky look too, for just because I did fall in love with the 49ers yesterday. Anybody who watched their offense in the preseason yesterday, was the day before, either way, it was like, oh my God, like the Niners might actually be really, really good. People forget, like, oh shit, this was a really, really good team that just had super bad injury luck for 2 years, and now they might have
their team is due
a
for a bounce
nasty
back.
dual
Yeah.
threat. Yeah, so all
I
right.
thought there were a couple names there down the list too. Sorry to cut
No,
you
go
off
ahead.
there. Matt LaFleur was like plus 2,500, and if the Packers come out and win that division pretty easily, which they probably should, and Aaron Rodgers looks good, I think that might be a, look at what he's done with the toxic type situation in Green Bay, and they look really good, and they're 14-3, and let's give him a coach of the year like that. That's at 2,500. I think there's some value. And while I don't think Mike McCarthy is a very good head coach, if the Cowboys offense, Dak's healthy and everything works out that way and they look good and they win that pretty easy division, I think being the Dallas Cowboys and having that Dak storyline, him coming back, if you win 11 games or so there in a weaker division and take that NFC East at 2,500, that's some value there too, I think.
Yeah, essentially, like for Dallas, it would almost be just, can you get the 3 seed? Can you get the 2 seed? 25-1 for that? Can you just have a really good offense? Same thing, really, the same thing for LaFleur. If you get the 1 seed, essentially you're betting 2,500. Can you get the 1 seed
Which is entirely possible
without Tampa's injuries? Like, Tampa is still good, but Green Bay was just better. Like, yeah, it'd be. Rodgers won plenty of awards and they've given stuff out up there, but LaFleur's never had it. So yeah, I can see that too, especially if you think they can hop over Tampa. I think that's what it might take. And again, you could always get knocked out by something crazy happening in the AFC or just some other storyline happening. Again, probably 13-win Art Smith trounces that, but that's kind of what's going to happen. But yeah, I like those looks. So yeah, let us know. Hit us up. I see some takes in the chat there for sure. Hit us up on Twitter if you have any hot takes or a sexy ticket on a number that doesn't exist anymore. That's kind of a shitty thing to do on Twitter, but I still like to look at them to be like, oh, look at that. Like, somebody got a crazy number on comeback player of the year or something like that. So hit us up. And again, if you're in the YouTube, which it looks like a bunch of you are, both Patricks, McCann and Patrick without a last name, hit us with a thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up for Matt for stepping in so late and figuring out Coach of the Year.
25 minutes to spare.
And his hot golf takes today. Andujar is plus 190. Well, maybe I will bet some more tennis today. There's only 100 matches to bet. So, all right, with that, let's call it a Monday. Again, check us out if you want a WynnBET account. $500 risk-free bet. We thank them. We thank producer Dan. Thanks for Matt for stepping in. But really, thanks to you guys for watching. And see you Tuesday.